What is going on YouTube? The Assist Man, and yes, I'm coming back at you guys with another Neverwinter YouTube video. Inside of this video, man, what I want to do is try to bring some information out to some of you guys who don't know and try to help out the community once again. Because a lot of people have been asking me throughout the couple of past days, man, about stats. What is the stats you should be looking for? How high should you go? You know, all that, so on and so forth. A lot of people don't know what stats are the most beneficial to put your points into and things like that. And yeah, that's what we're going to cover inside of this video. So you can see, let's go ahead and go to my character sheet. I am back on my control wizard now. I have actually all my I have all my enchantments in all the right areas. I know when I brought out my control wizard build to you guys less than 24 hours ago, I told you guys that I was testing out all my stuff on my Trickster Rogue, and I will be bringing a AOE off the hook Trickster Rogue build to you guys sometime in the next few days. But I have all my stuff back on my control wizard, and yeah, now it's going to give me my stats where I need to be. Now, mind you, I do want to let you guys know, like I've said in other videos, I am an endgame player. I know not everybody is an endgame player, and that's fine, but I am an endgame player, so inside of all my enchantment slots, I have all rank 15s. All of my utility slots are rank 15. All of my offensive enchantments are rank 15. All of my defensive enchantments are rank 15, with the exception of this Heart of Fire and the Anniversary one, what I'm going to talk about later. But yeah, other than that, everything else is rank 15. So I am obviously going to be getting a little bit higher stats than most people that do not have fully maxed out rank 15 enchantments, and I obviously understand that. But we're still going to go ahead and talk about what the stats you want to go ahead and make sure you have first capped out if you can, and how much you need to have of every specific stat. Because if you look at my stat screen right here, you will see that my power is currently sitting, and this is so weird, because normally my power is like 191,000, but for some various reason, when I log in and log back out of the game, it keeps transferring, it keeps changing. There's a lot of bugs in this game, guys, and I want you to be fully aware of that. There's tons of bugs with feats on classes that are not working. There are tons of bugs with encounter powers on classes that are not working, that are not proccing weapon enchantments. There are tons of bugs with companions. Oh my god, there are so many companions that don't work, so on and so forth. But there's a lot of bugs in this game. Hopefully they get them all mashed out soon. But another bug is, for some reason, every single time I log out of the game and log back in, my power changes. Sometimes it's 186, sometimes it's like 191. I don't get it. But anyway, you could see my ratings right now currently are sitting at 186,231 power, 74,035 armor pen, 64,242 defense, 74,562 crit strike, 49,000 and change crit avoided, 65 and change accuracy, 45 and change deflect, 102,000 combat advantage, and 51,884 awareness. Also, on my companion, like I told you guys before, I do have all maxed out stuff. I have Bonding Runestones rank 15s. I have some of the new companion gear. Not all of it is good, and it doesn't give me the stats I need, so I don't use it. So for instance, I'm using the Choke Chain of the companion, and the other two things are the old stuff, like the Fierce Holy Icon of the companion +5 and the Heroic Belt of the companion +4. This helps me get to the armor pen caps and the critical strike caps and all that good stuff. But inside of all of these, I also do have empowered runestones rank 15s. Like I said, all of my enchantments are maxed out. So if you don't have maxed out enchantments, there's nothing wrong with that. Just look at it, something you could thrive for in the future to get. But let's talk about stats, man. A lot of people are asking. Let's talk about what is the max cap for all the stats and which ones are most important to max out first. So we'll start at the top. Power. Power is the one thing you want to put everything into after you have reached the other caps for stats. You want to make sure you reach your armor pen cap. You want to make sure you reach your critical strike cap and other stats, or get close to them, before you stack everything into power. It makes no sense to have 186,000 power if you only have 50,000 armor pen. You're not going to be doing nowhere near as much damage as if you had 186,000 power and 70,000 armor pen. So, power is one of those things where you need to just it is the most important stat to go ahead and put stats into, but only after you have everything else maxed out. or close to the caps. Now, let's go ahead and get into what I feel is the most important stat to work on, and that is armor penetration. I am going to tell you guys the max stat caps for Layers of the Mad Mage and the max stat caps for just level 80 content, okay? What you really want to be doing, though, is trying to max out your stats to the max for Layers of the Mad Mage. This way, if you have them maxed out for that, you don't have to worry about ever touching them again. So, armor penetration. You want to be at 68,000. 68,000 is the stat cap, which means that stacking anything more than that in armor penetration is a waste. Unfortunately for me, there is literally no way I could take out 6,000 armor pen. If I take out a piece of equipment on my companion that gives me armor pen, instead of it putting me at 68,000, it actually puts me at like 64,000, which is not high enough, so I'd rather just have it overcapped in my specific instance. But for armor penetration, you want to be at 68,000 is the max cap. Now, if you're not fighting in Layers of the Mad Mage, you want to be at a minimum of 60,000. So 60,000 just for level 80 content, 68,000 for Layers of the Mad Mage content, and that will bring you to the full armor penetration cap. It is most important that you work on this one first, because if you do not have that much armor pen, you will not be doing as much damage to the enemies. Second, let's talk about defense. Inside of this game, you can get a max defensive resistance of, I believe it's 50%. Yeah, the defense cap's at 50%. In order to get to that 50% cap, in Layers of the Mad Mage, you need, once again, 68,000 defense. In normal level 80 content, you need 60,000 defense. As you can see, I'm kind of in the middle of both of them. I do want to get my defense to 68,000. It's just not feasible yet. Critical strike. Another really important one. Critical strike now, critical hit chance in mod 16, unfortunately, caps at 50%. But in order to get to 50%, you have to have a minimum of 68,000, once again, in critical strike for Layers of the Mad Mage content. If you do not run Layers of the Mad Mage and you just want to run level 80 content, the cap then is 60,000. And one other thing I want to talk about is, I know a lot of you guys know exactly what these things mean, but there's a lot of new players to the game I've been seeing, and there's a lot of players that just don't understand what these mean. So before I go any further, let's get into what these things mean. What power is basically, as the tooltip says, is increases your damage and healing. This amount is modified on a per power basis. Roughly the way it works out is the more power you have, the more damage you're going to do. If you're a cleric or if you're a healer, the more power you have, the more healing you're going to do. So that's why it's important to stack as much power as you can. It equals straight up damage, or if you're going for a healing class, more healing. What armor penetration will do, as the tooltip says, it increases the percentage of defenses ignored when attacking an enemy. Which means, if an enemy, for instance, has 100% armor, and you have 50% armor penetration, you will only be penetrating 50% of their armor, which means your damaging powers will only be doing 50% much to them. In order to actually make sure that you attack them and do your full 100% damage, you need to make sure that you mitigate all of the armor they have with armor penetration. So that's why it's important, and armor penetration is important to make sure that you have enough. Think of it as like a shield. If the enemy has a shield of 1,000 and your armor pen is at 80%, well, then you're going to be negating 80% of their shield. But if your armor pen is at 100%, then you're going to be negating all of their shield, which means you will be doing full damage to them. So armor penetration is very important. What defense does, it decreases your damage taken. Basically, it's just, if you were to get hit by an enemy for 20,000 with no defense, and then if you had your defense at the cap and you got hit for 20,000, you wouldn't get hit for 20,000. You would only get hit for like 10,000, or so on and so forth. It just decreases the amount of damage that you take. So some of you guys that are dying a lot, you might not have your defense where it needs to be. Obviously, critical strike is the chance that you will land a critical hit. Like I just got done saying, though, it stat caps at 68,000 in mod 16, and there is only a 50% chance that you will critically hit an enemy. And at 68,000, you will make sure that you are getting that full 58 or 50% chance. Now, let's talk about critical avoidance. This one, it says, decreases the chance that your enemy will land a critical hit against you. What this basically means is that enemies can also critically hit you, just like you can critically hit them. Obviously, if an enemy critically hits you with an attack, it will do a lot more damage to you. So once again, if those of you guys that are dying a lot, maybe you don't have your critical avoidance that high. The higher you get this, the more basically defense it's going to give you against enemies' critical hit chances. Now, the stat cap on this for Layers of the Mad Mage is 73,000. For level 80 content is 65,000. As you can see, I'm way under the cap, but I don't really have too much things I could do right now, and I'm still working on my stats to try to, balance them all out. Now let's talk about accuracy. Accuracy decreases your enemy's chances to deflect your attacks. This is very important as well. Enemies do have deflection chance now in mod 16. If you have very low accuracy, they are going to deflect and even dodge a lot of your attacks. So you're not going to be doing full damage to them, and they can even dodge your attacks completely. So by having your accuracy as high as possible, you will make sure that you will be doing 100% of the damage to the enemies. The cap for accuracy for Layers of the Mad Mage content is 68,000. The cap for accuracy for level 80 content is 60,000. If you have less than that, your enemies will have a chance to deflect your attacks. So make sure you have at least 60,000 in accuracy, and you want to get it to around 68,000. Let's talk about deflect. It increases the chances that you will deflect 50% of the incoming damage. It's extremely important. Like I said before about defense, if an enemy was going to hit you for 10,000 and you deflect it, they're only going to hit you for 5,000 theoretically. So if you have higher deflect, you have a higher chance of actually deflecting the attack. Now in mod 16, there is a cap once again. You can only have your deflect percent chance of 50% cap. In order to get to that cap though, the stat cap in mod 16 for deflect is 68,000 in Layers of the Mad Mage content and 60,000 in level 80 standard combat. Now, let's talk about the second most important thing, in my opinion, is combat advantage. It says it increases your damage when attacking an enemy from an advantageous position. It's basically when you have combat advantage against an enemy, you will do way more damage to them. Think of combat advantage like power. It kind of scales like that. So by having a lot of combat advantage, like for me, having 100,000 combat advantage, I basically do like 2 times more damage to an enemy when I attack them from combat advantage. Now, how do you get combat advantage? You either have to be standing on the opposite side of another teammate that is attacking an enemy, or there are some specific feats in some specific classes that have a chance to grant you or you and your entire team combat advantage against the target for a specific amount of time. For instance, I know the Control Wizard in one path has a thing called Nightmare Wizardry, which has a 10% chance on hit to grant combat advantage to yourself. But in order to get combat advantage, you want to make sure that you are attacking from an opposite side of your teammate. So if you're on a boss and your tank is tanking and he's at the front of the boss, you want to go ahead and be at the back of the boss. And you can always tell when you have combat advantage because you will have the red circle that is underneath enemies will turn to blue where you are standing if you have combat advantage. If it's all red still, that means you do not have combat advantage. If it turns to blue where you are standing, then you are benefiting from the effects of combat advantage. It's very important. Get it as high as you can after you stat cap everything else, obviously. And let's talk about the last one, awareness. It says, decreases your enemy's damage when being attacked from combat advantage. So, your awareness inside of mod 16, in order to run Layers of the Mad Mage, you want to be at 78,000 is the stat cap for Layers of the Mad Mage content. For normal level 80 stuff, it is a 70,000 cap. So, basically, a lot of these stats are about the same. as far as stat caps go. They have about the same value. Armor penetration, 68,000 is where you want to be. Accuracy, 68,000. Critical strike, 68,000. Defense, 68,000. Deflection, 68,000. The only ones you need a little bit more of is critical avoidance, is 73,000. And awareness, which is 78,000. Combat advantage, many are saying you want to be around 120,000. I don't think many classes are even really going to be able to get to that high, but as high as you can get combat advantage, it's obviously it's better if you have as much as you can get. Now, like I said, those stat caps are the caps. You don't really want to go over them if you can, help it. If you can't, then it is what it is. Also, it's kind of important to get to those caps because a lot of people are going to want to run the new content, the new dungeons. So just get your stats to, if you could, the 68,000 cap minimum, and then you don't have to worry about ever adjusting them to go in the dungeon or to go into other areas and so on and so forth. So once again, let's go ahead and go over it. 68,000 armor pen. 68,000 accuracy, 68,000 critical strike, 68,000 defense, 68,000 deflection, 73,000 critical avoidance, 78,000 awareness, and as high as combat advantage as you possibly can. If you have those stats, that's where you want to be. That's going to get you to the chance percentage caps in Mod 16. That's going to be where you need to be. So I hope this video helped you guys. If you do have any questions, man, make sure you leave a comment. And if you did enjoy the video, man, don't forget to hit that thumbs up like button. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, man, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. And make sure you tell your friends and your guild mates and help share this video so other people could see it if they need to know where they need to have their stats. So anyway, YouTube, this is the Assist Man. And until next time, I am out.